Was that Raul and Teresa in the next scene loading all those suitcases?
Yeah, they're leaving for Colorado.
There's like a million suitcases.
They're like, fuck yeah, they're leaving. We can have sex in the pool house.
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to Ewing Barbecue, where we wrestle up some steers. My name is Mary. I don't know. I was trying to think of something. Nothing came to mind. I'm trying to do something different every week. And
cattle rustling. Cattle rustling is what we're into.
Some are going to be better than other ones. And this one was a fail. And I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Right. So anyway, I'm Mary.
There you go. Yeah. And I'm Sarah.
I think I'm Josh, but the jury is still out on that.
What would you like my name to be?
Ooh, sexy.
Melanie.
Desiree.
Matahari.
Ooh.
A fancy play on.
Oh, Desiree.
Delilah, mistress of the night.
No,
Serena.
Melanie is Serena tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Can be our Serena.
Well, she's got a client in the back room because she has to send JR away.
Because he wanted to be Cash and Gary.
I know, and he was very impatient.
You know?
That's right.
Cash and Gary.
And I am pounding down my usual bourbon because it's been a long week. More on that another time.
I'm just my sippy cup
I'm
wine.
drinking some weird
sippy
punch
cup,
that I got at a party last Monday. Someone gave me, they had a lot left. So they it's some weird juice with pieces of fruit in it and obviously vodka. And so I'm drinking it.
And what are you drinking there, Serena? Entertain us with your beverage of choice.
I bet I can guess.
An IPA.
That's it?
There you go.
Nothing fancy? Or?
I think it's fancy. Yeah, one of my burial beer ones, despite all the lunacy. Yes.
You always have the coolest name beer.
Well, I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. There's a few breweries around here that put everybody else to shame.
So tonight we're recording on March 4th, which is the only day in the year that is a complete sentence, March 4th. And it is 8 years to the day that J.R. Ewing got shot and killed.
On the new
Dallas.
On the new Dallas.
Spoiler.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, this is when JR or Larry died in real life. So I feel like.
Well, he had already passed.
So we apologize if that is too much of a spoiler and you're so mad at us for it. But I think we're going to just let this one not be beeped.
You're going to be even more mad when the show ends. Right. Don't blame us. So this is just a drop in the hat. So don't worry about that.
Then we're going to have nothing to talk about you, and you're going to be.
Yeah.
Well,
you know
we'll be
what?
all talked out by then.
Maybe by the time we get there, they'll do some kind of wrap-up series.
I mean, it is going to take us a while to get there. So, yeah.
They really should do it on one of those channels.
They should.
Because I watched the Punky. I watched the Punky Brewster remake. It was so good. I've only watched 5 episodes, but I did it all last night. And they were so good.
And Coming to America 2 comes out tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Amazon Prime.
We're going to watch that on Sunday. Yeah. But
I know it's going to get out there late, but they are having a virtual Facebook Live South Fork memorabilia sale of some sort tomorrow online.
Yeah, we've been pimping it on our Instagram and our Facebook page. So
yeah, starting at
9:30
a.m. Central Time.
And you have to call in. You have to call them on the phone. They're gonna show you stuff live, and then it's gonna be like QVC. Like you have to call them to order it. That's all the housekeeping? All right, then we can get into the episode. I like this one. Okay. So tonight we're talking about season 3, episode 24, Wheeler Dealer.
Bank loans on the Asian whales paid off today 100%.
You almost lost South Fork to do it.
It was a mistake, Dad. It'll never happen again. I'll never put South Fork or Ewing Oil in jeopardy. I'll swear it. The first step in curing a drunk is getting them to admit what they are.
And if the rebels win, there's not a doubt in the world they'll nationalize the oil fields.
What?
They'll take it all. Lock, stock, and every barrel.
It was written by Barbara Searles, I think. Directed by Alexander Singer and aired on March 14th, 1980.
No relation to Mark Singer, who was a
So we're really close to the real date.
Yes, we are very close to the real date.
Okay.
Okay. 41
years ago.
So let's see.
41 years ago.
Ed Kenny makes his first and only appearance as Seth Stone in this episode, who is played by Kenneth White in season 1.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Mary Lee never really. I mean, Fern Fitzgerald made a comment about how she never met Seth Stone.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I hear way more about Mary Lee.
Ed Kenny had a co-starring role as a senator in episode 28, and this episode finished the week at number 6. And when CBS reran it in November 6th of 1980 as a prelude to the season 3 premiere, it dropped to number 9.
So this would air October 6th, 1980?
November 6th.
November 6th. Okay. So
a rerun.
I was
during the actors' strike.
Right. So I was recently rewatching the show Freaks and Geeks. This is why I ask. And in the second episode of Freaks and Geeks, Bill is watching Dallas. And I figured out that episode probably took place the first or second week in October 1980. And so I was trying to figure out what episode would that be, because obviously it wasn't the right episode. And then it wasn't on at that point, but it would have been in rerun. So it was probably like a couple episodes ago.
Yeah. And Cliff's, there's an interesting little bit of trivia here. Cliff's contract that he finds is dated February 26, 1939. But in Dallas, the early years, it has their partnership, Jock and Digger's partnership, ending in 1934.
Oh, interesting.
JR was born
39.
In
right? So that actually makes sense. More sense, doesn't it, to Dallas the early years?
And in season 6, it establishes that the feud dated back to 1930. And this is an episode, one of the 2 episodes that CBS said after seeing that the ratings were going up, that they decided, give us 2 more and see what you got. And the writers said, "Oh crap! We had a little cliffhanger with Cliff at the cemetery with a gun in his pocket, saying he's going to vow revenge, and Pam having just found out that Digger ain't Daddy. Daddy was some saddle tramp." And
I don't know. I got into this one watching it, and I was like, this. Some of the shit that goes on in this episode that we'll talk about, it was like, oh, like this one could have been the season closer.
There's some upsetting things that happen in this one. I'm just gonna say,
yeah.
There is,
and there are some moments where we need to drink. Obviously,
yes, there are definitely some moments we have to drink. Okay, all right. Should we get into it? Okay, we open on the exterior of South Fork, and Jock is shining his boots.
He is spit shining those suckers.
Himself?
Yes.
And they're nice boots. Right? I would wear those boots.
He's got that leather jacket on. This is an episode for a couple of leather jackets between him and Hank Johnson. We have to decide who has the better leather jacket. And obviously they're on the soundstage.
Hank Johnson, insider dude.
Yeah, insider dude.
That's right.
I think I made some reference to JR insider trading while JR's up in the office insider trading and shit.
Insider trading before insider trading was insider trading.
Right.
Insider
trading. Before ahead of the time.
So I get what their whole conversation was about Amanda and going to Colorado, and he asked Ellie to come, but I said, Ellie's being so nice. Like she's being like overly nice. It's sweet. But then he was like, I don't want to have secrets anymore. And then when they say she's going to go, they kiss and it's sweet. It's a sweet scene, and it's like the opening scene. It's like a little it's a sweet scene to start the episode, I guess is what I'm saying. Because the rest is shit it goes downhill.
It goes from sweet to sour real fast.
It rolls.
Yeah. And maybe they did it on
purpose. They have a couple of sweet scenes in this episode.
I was just going to ask, are we sure that the end of that scene isn't the one that painting is taken from? Because it looks way more like it.
Maybe.
They're kissing?
At the end when he's in.
I wonder if they shot it on the same day or something.
Maybe, but it looks like they're kissing, and it's really cute, and it just looks adorable, and
yeah.
Totes adorbs.
Here.
Totes adorbs. I know it's sweet.
I don't know. We're gonna have to go double check. Yeah,
because
that's
well. What clothes are they wearing?
But yeah, so Ellie wants to go. She's like, I think we need to talk about Amanda, your first wife, and I feel like we should go see her because you haven't seen her. And like, he wouldn't answer how long it's been, and I kind of want to know. Like,
no, he never said.
Been like 30 years? I think it has.
We can kind of figure it out by later in the episode with what happens when we get there.
Didn't he say like it had been a while?
Bit,
like it was. I don't know if it was that long ago, but it was.
He said he couldn't come up with.
It had been a bit
excuses to
get away anymore because it's going to look like he's having an affair with his ex-wife. Right.
Oh, so he had been. So he had been going to see her, and then he couldn't. I wonder if that was like when he got into retirement, like he couldn't just be like, "Oh, I'm going on a business trip."
I got the feeling it was before
and then when
that,
he was
though.
not in
like
the
maybe when
day,
Bobby was
a
kid or something.
JR obviously pulls up to the soundstage in his car or actually he was probably sitting in the car waiting to be given his cue to go in because we never heard the car pull into the driveway.
Right.
And he comes over and Jock goes, "What do you say, JR?" I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I'm going to say my lines as they're said in the script. That's what I'm going to say. What do you say, boy? Well, Jim, I'm going to say my lines.
Jock's standard
and then you're going to say your lines. We're going to go to the next scene.
And then JR says, hey, and he puts his everything down and he crushes his hat. Did you notice that he crushes his hat on the chair? I did. I was like, oh, that's an expensive hat. He crushes his hat on the chair and he says
that famous hat of his that was appearing in a lot of pictures during the off season.
Was it the gray one?
Yes, it was.
Yes. Yeah. And he says that the good news is the Asian wells have been completely paid off. So like they're no longer in debt. Like them mortgaging against South Fork is no longer a thing. And that makes them one of the richest independent oil companies in the world. And but have you talked to Bobby about this? And JR's like, are you fucking kidding me? What do I have to do to impress you?
Yeah, did Bobby go to the bank with you?
Bobby went to the bank with me. It was all above board. And JR is still looking for Daddy's approval in this scene.
Like, I put on their Jock.
Daddy's not giving it to him. He's just like keeping the carrot from him.
Oh, very much.
Right. He's being pretty upfront about it too. Like, what does it take to make you proud of me?
I just wanted you to be proud of me, Dad. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
He's like, well, JR, don't mortgage my fucking house.
Well, that's what I said on my notes. I put he has to drive that knife into him one more time, and he brings up again how he almost lost South Fork. Like he wants to make sure he never forgets it. Like that was the worst thing.
Right. That he gets it, and he said, "Keep towing that line, and we'll be cool."
Yeah.
And they have these weird camera angles of JR, like the close-ups, and the one pointing up JR. I'm surprised it didn't like hit the top of the soundstage or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I put Jock doesn't trust JR anymore. You done messed up, boy. Or
I
did
know,
you?
but that too.
Because then he's like, come on, I'll buy you a drink. I mean, I'm like,
all right, have we added that to the list? Anytime someone says, "I want to buy you a drink,"
yeah, that's totally. I think it's on the list. I don't know. I'll find the list. It's somewhere. I don't know. It's been a while.
Well, I know I've got a couple on here that I know are on the list, and I have.
Yes, same.
Okay.
So Sue Ellen is drinking in the middle of the living room while everyone else is at dinner,
but it's club soda.
No one seems to notice.
But they start coming in, and Pam is.
And she's like,
Pam learns that Harrison Page was calling, and she had called him, and she wants to take some time off. And Sue Ellen quickly scampers and puts club soda in the.
Yeah, she's just like, oh shit, no, club soda, no. But then Jared kind of calls her out for it. He's just like, yeah, but what were you drinking 3 seconds before he came in the room? It was booze.
Yeah.
Like, do you have X-ray vision? What the fuck? I mean, seriously.
She wasn't being very sly about it.
Well,
no, she's not good at hiding shit. I mean,
she's not at all.
She's so
no. I mean, she's taking phone calls from Cliff right there in the entryway. And,
I know.
Dusty, and she's telling JR what she's gonna do before she does it. Girl is not.
She goes to a bar in Braddock where everybody knows her.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
We're gonna get there. That part I had so many.
Yeah, there's notes.
So,
but in this part, JR says I agree with him where he says like, hey, I'm just trying to get her to admit that she's an alcoholic because that's the first step. But also like, this is not how we go about that, JR. So also no.
Yeah, don't do it in front of the whole family and degrade her and make her feel like shit. When Lucy asked her if she's feeling better, just kind of like to be nice. And then Miss Ellie says, well, she barely ate anything at dinner. And he goes, she gets all of her nutrition from this and holds up the bottle. And I was like, what an asshole.
And then JR says, well, I'm just trying to get her to acknowledge what she is. And Lucy goes, well, why don't you admit what you are too?
I love it. That was funny.
Oh, snap.
We need to start doing those too. Lucy's jabs and JR.
And then,
I was like, go Lucy, and then go Bobby, because JR is like, sad on my business, Bob. And he's like, well, you made it our business. By taking her apart in front of us.
Yeah, you wanted Bobby's help last time when you had to go get her at the bar. Or no, you had to go get her at the police station because she tore up the apartment.
He's going to go get her at the bar too.
But then he gets defensive when Bobby comes onto him. So then he lashes out at Pam to be an asshole.
It's like, you got enough trouble in your own marriage.
And Bobby did warn him.
Pam finds out Digger's not her daddy. Her daddy's a saddle tramp. How many times is he going to use saddle tramp?
Her mom's a tramp.
Saddle tramp.
Yeah, it says she's cracking up. And then do you see the look on Pam's face where she's like, oh shit.
Because you are, bitch. It's downhill from now.
Jock is
looking
back and forth like, okay, what's... Do I need to get ready for my jock pose here? My jock cock pose?
And then he does, because then Bobby just punches JR, hits him right into the chair. And then he has to.
Oh, there's our drink. Bobby punched somebody.
It was the Pam's mother is a whore comment that sent him over.
That's when right after that is when Jock's like, y'all break it up. He does the growling voice more than once in this episode, like 3 times.
He does. And then he does the jock cock pose, so we have to also drink to that.
There you go.
Bobby, watch your temper. JR, watch your damn mouth.
And I put down, you guys are enablers. Why the fuck did nobody shut JR up before he got that far? Why are y'all sitting back like deer in headlights?
Right.
Going,
he had laid into 3 people before they even stopped it.
And if you notice, Jock went after Bobby first for throwing the punch instead of going after JR for running his mouth. What the fuck? Yeah. But you know what? That's how it happened in my house too. I got in trouble.
I did too.
I got in trouble for defending myself against my brother, and he'd be like, "I don't know, Bobby."
I did too.
And I was just like, it still happens.
I just feel like this has happened 70 billion times in that household. Mm-hmm. And Jock is just because he does it and then he's just like, God! Because, he's just sick as fuck of it. He doesn't want it to, he's just done. Yeah. He's like, you guys are in your 30s now. 40, Jared is 40. Why do you still do this?
I think my folks feel the same way.
And then Sue Ellen offers her club soda.
That's funny. She's like,
JR, you want my club soda? You're going to need it because there's actually some vodka on the bottom of it.
Oh, yeah. And so then cut to Pam laying on her bed and just staring at the ceiling.
Look, wah, wah, wah. I mean, here it goes. Spiral.
And she's like, maybe JR's right. Maybe I am cracking up. I'm like,
no. Honey, JR is never right. That is a dangerous road to go down.
Don't ever agree with JR. Yeah.
Paging Nurse Ratchet. Paging Nurse Ratchet.
We need to add that somewhere. A Pam, what the hell moment.
Oh, those are all season 4.
Like
those are all. We will be so drunk season 4.
That's what the hell, Pam? No, JR is never right. What the fuck? Seriously.
Right. And then.
But she's having an identity
crisis. She thinks her whole life is. She thinks everything is a lie, and well, in a way, her upbringing it does turn out to be a lie because the father that she thought was her father is not her father. Her father is just a skeleton with a bullet hole in it.
But we've talked about this before. I mean, Digger was the one that raised her. That is her dad.
Right, but it's not going to stop her from having some sort of like existential crisis for it because, like,
and it brings up questions about her mother. She's like, okay, well, do we have proof Mama really died? Like, I need to go find this shit out.
Right. And then they're looking through.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm getting home. That's a different scene. That's a different scene. That's a different scene.
But
she says that
Bobby wants her to go away, perhaps tomorrow. But she and Cliff have to go to Aunt Maggie's house. But isn't Aunt Maggie's house in Kansas? As we learned when she showed up at the hospital.
I don't know. I was thinking it was not close by.
When she showed up at the hospital, she was coming from Kansas.
Right.
So Pam just has to hop over to Kansas tomorrow.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Huh.
Maybe she moved to Dallas.
Now I know Ray's aunt in future seasons lives in Kansas, so I wonder if maybe they got that mixed up before or later on or something. And because Aunt Maggie was local.
Yeah, but in the episode when she showed up at the hospital, when Digger was in the hospital, said she had come in from Kansas.
Yeah.
Maybe she was coming from Kansas from her sister's house.
Maybe she visited or something.
She doesn't have a sister because that would mean Digger had another sister.
Right.
Maybe she was visiting somebody and she got called back because her brother or whomever was dying.
Well, but didn't she live with Digger in that house? So maybe Digger lived with her. So they had to go to Aunt Maggie's house, who Digger lived with.
I don't know.
Maybe because all of his shit's there. So
look, we're all making this so much more complicated than it is. I'm like, I'll research it.
We need.
They went to an attic and went through some shit. How's that?
We need a special episode to figure out where Aunt Maggie lives. Maybe she was friends with Ray's aunt.
Maybe. I really like Pam's lace, like high necked, like lace thing in this scene. And also Bobby says that he just wants to get her out of town and go somewhere let's just get away from all of this. And she's like, no, because I promised Cliff that we'd go through all Digger's stuff tomorrow. And he's like, do you really think you're going to find the answers going through his stuff? And she's like, I don't know, but I still feel like I have to do it. And I feel like, yeah, Bobby, like that's a morning ritual. So
yeah. I dreaded that, but it was the best thing I did. Like I loved looking through all my dad's stuff. I did. And it was sad, but then I'm like, I still have all this crap now here. Like I came in with like two boxes
some of the
and Scott was like, you're bringing more shit into the house. I was like,
you're like, yeah.
You find the best unexpected shit when you start going through your passed on relative stuff. Like I didn't know my grandmother had a baby book. She did.
We found when we were cleaning out in the basement, we found a journal or series that my father's father, my grandfather, kept during the last week of his oldest daughter's life when she was 8 years old and died of an infection in the nose that went up to the brain, and the doctor wouldn't operate because they didn't have the money. They wanted the money up front before they operated back then.
That's why that's illegal now.
Yes, and
they have to treat
it was a detailed every day of that week writing.
That's so sad.
And
that is priceless.
And there was a lock of her hair.
I love that.
My mom has a lock of my hair.
And we found out she didn't. The date on her tombstone was February 11th, which is the day my niece was born in 2000. And we found out through reading this that was the date that she was put in the ground. They did not keep accurate death date records back then. So she died in January.
Really
Josh, also being up north. Being up north, they had to wait till the ground was frozen too, right? Before they buried them.
Right.
I mean,
right, but February 11th and February 11th is still winter and it's still frozen. So.
Well, yeah, but
depending on the year.
Well, if they're not in a hurry to bury somebody, I can see where that could get behind.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather died in January. We buried him on his birthday in May.
Because back then, even they could be refrigerated because it's still super cold.
And we're Southern Baptist. We buried him like 2 days. We waited a week for my dad. So I mean, it just depends.
And that's the great thing about that's the great thing about up here is that in the winter you have an extra refrigerator, the outside.
So after she tells him she's going to go to Aunt Maggie's Diggers, doesn't it cut to JR going to Serena's house then? Or
yes.
It does.
Okay,
it does. Yeah. Yes.
Which I thought was hysterical. She didn't even open the door all the way up.
Yeah, she's occupied.
And you hear the guy. You hear the guy in the background. Like, who is it? Send him away.
Serena. Right. Who is it? Send him away.
That was a horny toad.
Drunk. Yeah, he was a little drunk and super annoyed, and she's like, "Well, this is the way you wanted
cash
it, right?
Cash and carry, baby.
You know, cash and carry." And then he was like, "Yeah, I guess it is," and then leaves.
But
you can't have your cake and eat it.
But
too,
the funniest
boy.
thing is, he goes to his third choice. He just has to go somewhere because he doesn't want to go back to Sue Ellen at home. So he goes to Kristin.
Actually, Sue Ellen would have been a better choice at this point.
I'm just going to warn you guys, I have a big problem with this next scene. I have a big problem.
Is it him throwing his clothes off camera onto the camera?
No, she's pouring her heart out, and then he just taking his clothes off. What's your?
She's like pissed.
He rapes her.
Yeah, I know. At the end,
basically, he's like, get in here and shut up.
He ignores her, pulls her into bed, and tells her, "Shut up." That's what I put.
He tells her, "Shut up." She's literally saying, "No, I don't want to have sex with you." And he tells her to shut up, and then grabs her and throws her. And then the scene is played like comedy.
Exactly. But
this is a big problem to me.
This is also in the it's not right at all. But this is in the 80s where men slap their secretary's ass. And my dad was in an office in the 80s. I watched him with all those women.
This is why I'm just saying, this is the epitome of like the message when people talk about just like the patriarchy and rape culture. This is rape culture.
This is the Me Too movement.
And
this is rape culture saying this is fine.
Yeah,
and Kristin was very, very clear. I don't want to sleep with you again until we're married.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. You know, she's angry.
Yeah. She's angry and she's not into it.
She's pouring her heart out, telling him all the reasons why. And 3 or 4 times in that thing, she's saying, and I will not have sex with you until da-da-da-da-da and da-da-da, and I do not want to. No, I don't want to. And then he's still... But what I was going to say, Josh, not to say this is just something a man would do. I mean, Marilee Stone could be sexual harassment in some of her episodes too. But
God, yes.
In this instance, yes, she said it more than once. And I even put that I don't know, maybe it's just me being a female, but I know if I'm like, fuck no, I'm going to punch you in the nuts and I'm going to slap. I mean, but she probably felt
she's like
she owed him
98 pounds.
That's what I'm saying.
This is before Lorraine and Bob had pulled out a knife.
And when you think about it, this was in 1980, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The courts didn't recognize marital rape as a thing until 1984.
Yeah, they're not even
right?
Okay, so imagine if Kristin, the mistress, like the wife's sister, is being treated like this. Imagine what Sue Ellen had had to do or was subjected to, just to get him to shut up.
Remember the night that John Ross was, we think he was conceived. That was the night he threw her on the bed and raped her in the house. I mean, that was
Yeah.
She was like, no. She was like screaming, fight.
JR is upping his nasty in this episode, big time.
He really is.
Like
more than one.
This is one of the worst scenes I've seen so far of the whole series. Is that moment? I'm like, this is where he's being the biggest villain.
Well, not to be like a weirdo, but didn't almost make you uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I was like,
it made me super uncomfortable. I just wrote, I do not like this scene.
No, because this was awful.
I went from
to make it comical.
Yeah, I went from laughing at the clothes flying over onto the camera to being like, okay, this guy's like a pig.
Yeah.
And I said, Kristin knows exactly what he's doing to her. And she's trying to call him out on it. And he's just like, fuck that. Get over here and do it.
That was her push over the edge point when all this.
This is the push over the edge point, and that's when I want to talk about both episodes. This and the next episode is one. I'm gonna try not to, but I'm just going to say
this is why I only watch one episode at a time, because I don't want to jump into.
The scenes for next week were at the end of this one, and it jogged all these memories I had when I saw the scenes for next week.
Well, I didn't see scenes for next week.
The person who wrote this episode was a woman, and I think that this person gave us the reason for what happens in the next episode.
Yes. At least partially, yes.
I would say probably a pretty big percentage of it that I've never put together before.
I think it's the combination of this scene and another scene with Kristin that cement her.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Honestly,
but
you remember that TV show I was talking to you two about the other night that
Yes.
SVU I love so much? That leading into that is a common theme.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yes.
When somebody snaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After they've been abused.
If anything's going to make you snap.
That's going to do it.
Yeah. You can only be pushed so far. I'm going to grab some more.
There was also the scene in the fictitious book where it was revealed that JR raped Valine and was Lucy's father.
Oh.
So.
The Lee Raintree book, where
in the Lee Raintree non-canon book,
but
where Luther Frick raped Sue Ellen and made her like it. Oh my God, I read that book and I was like, I want to burn you right now.
I read it when I was like 12, so.
Oh my God.
I might reread it just to refresh.
I was thinking we should at some point do like a book club, do like a Patreon book club where we'd like read a chapter and we talk about it with people on our Patreon. It might be a fun extra thing. So Pam starts asking questions about her mother, and Aunt Maggie's just like, I don't really know that much. I don't really know about her. She was kind of around, and then it seems like Aunt Maggie wasn't living there. She was living somewhere different.
She said Rebecca was the rebound.
Yeah, but do you get the feeling that Aunt Maggie
from Ellie
she was saying and she was bouncing around questions? Because she said the same thing a couple of times, and I felt like she was leaving holes on purpose. I don't think she really didn't know. I think she was leaving holes on purpose.
And at this point, she's still called Becky.
Right. And she was, that's what I'm saying. She never was like, Rebecca, it's Becky. She didn't give any real details. She's like, oh, it's just kind of misty. I don't know. But she gave some details, but the details she gave, she repeated more than once. She left obvious holes. I think she doesn't want to know for her real mom.
Oh, she does.
She said that the next time she saw her was when saw Digger was when he showed up with Cliff and Maggie, Pam in tow.
And dropped them off
there.
Which goes back to my question. How long were they married before Cliff came along?
Didn't she say
Probably not very long.
I thought she said something about, it might have been a different number.
Because they had.
But she said the last you dropped the kids off in the trunks.
Because that's not adding up.
Again.
They also had two other
Tyler
kids
and
that died of the terror.
Right.
Yeah, in between them, right? Between Cliff and Pam?
I didn't realize Cliff is that much older
Tyler and then Cliff and then Catherine and then Pam.
Yeah, but back then
they had
them
one.
Back then they had them like my dad and his brother are 11 months apart. Do you see what I'm saying? Right. So back then they're very. My friend was pregnant on her 6-month checkup at the doctor.
I'm sitting here going, okay, so Rebecca was the rebound. Jock and Ellie got married in 1938, 39, but 39. just before JR was born. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had to get married.
Right.
Okay. So we're thinking if Rebecca's the rebound, it's probably not long after that, 1940, 41.
So let's say Cliff is born in 42, 43 maybe?
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then they have one. They must have had two.
They had one. They had one that died. Then they had Cliff. Then they had one that died. And then they had
one that died.
Pam.
And then
okay, so Cliff may be a little bit more closer to Sue Ellen's age, maybe 1945, 46.
Okay, all right.
They had one because then they had Cliff, and then they had one in between that died, and then they had one that Rebecca had Pam
in 52.
Right.
52.
No, 53 because it was November and she was
53?
and she was pregnant. It was after the election.
Right. 53 because she is quite a bit younger than Bobby.
Right, and this happened right after the election of Eisenhower, and they were blowing off steam. That Jock fired Hutch at the bar.
So Pam was supposed to be 25 at the start of the series.
God, I feel so old right now because I know exactly.
I thought she was supposed to be 28. God.
Yeah, see,
me too.
But
this places her in 1953 because Becky was pregnant in November and was going to run away with Hutch.
Okay, so she leaves kids, trunks, drunk. He's off again. Now it cuts to Ewing Oil.
No, and she wants to go to Corpus Christi, but Cliff finds some mysterious paper and shoves it in his pocket.
Yes, and I also want to say that Cliff is really dirty in this scene. He is covered in schwutz everywhere.
He's not afraid to get dirty.
He's not. Work with his hands. So Hank Johnson came all the way from Asia to tell him that there is a revolution brewing.
Say, want a revolution.
Insider trading guy.
Insider trading guy, yes.
Okay, good, because I put on here, Hank comes in, tells him his resolution at the oil fields. And I put dash. Please explain, guys, because I totally missed this whole thing. I was on the phone doing something, and I was like, shit, I missed the whole scene.
There's not a lot to explain. Okay. They're just they're pretty vague. There's there's an
assassination.
And they're going to overthrow the government. You're right.
Yeah, why couldn't you call on the phone? I know you said he wanted to come in person, but
here comes the foreman. Here comes the foreman guy with token music. Like it's token 79, 80, like funky guitar. Did you notice that?
I noticed all music, and I noticed all guitar.
He's got the black leather jacket to counterbalance Jock's brown leather jacket.
It was basically like this guy basically came in and like the Shaft theme was like
yes. And I think
surprised he wasn't stuffing his
Hank
pants.
Looked like a swindler. I think Hank looks like a swindler car salesman.
Yeah,
and JR, he was like blah 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 greedy opportunist, and I put LMAO because I'm like, are we serious right now? A greedy opportunist?
Right. The pot calling the kettle black.
Really? You're passing judgment? Okay.
JR wants to bribe the rebels.
Okay. And he's like, yeah, that's not a thing.
JR, you don't live in the real world. You the outside world. You live in Texas. What flies in Texas don't necessarily fly on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
And JR is like, okay, well, Hank, go away, pay them off, whatever amount of money. But he shuts the door and he's like, fuck.
Right. What do I do? Oh, shit.
I need a drink first.
And then, like, light bulb. He thinks of it.
And he moves on it quick. Real quick.
He does.
But we don't.
Yep. This is kind of like where I was like.
And we don't learn exactly what his plan is until a little further along. It's just kind of vague, little vague.
We know it's going to be dirty.
That's where I made that. Oh God. Because I realized what he was doing in that scene that we're going to come to.
Yeah. So then Kristin is with Von Leland I wrote Kristin's apartment, but it's not really her apartment. It's the Ewing extra apartment thing that she's been staying in for a confidential meeting between he and JR.
Wanted him there at 10 a.m. sharp, but JR shows up late.
Yeah, and Vaughn is a person.
On purpose.
He has a habit of doing that. Spoiler.
He does it because he wants Kristin to entertain for a little while on purpose,
right? And to wear down their I don't know what the word is. Their
defenses.
He uses the women in his life for that
all the time,
and she's not just Kristin.
She's putting on a necklace that was a gift from a friend. And he gets it. He puts it on. He gets his all greasy, all sleazy hands all over her, and
his old man hands.
Oh my gosh, getting chill bumps. He is a creeper McCreeperson for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God!
All I put about this scene was ew.
Ew. That's appropriate. That's all we need. Ew.
No,
David Rose.
Ew number two because of JR's rape of Kristin there.
No.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that wasn't ew. This whole scene was an ew as well.
This was just creepy. It is literally a feeling. It's a sixth sense that a woman gets when there is a creepy man around them, or they feel somebody looking at them, and it is creepy. You have a sixth sense. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
people think I'm crazy, but I know
there are different.
It's weird.
No, there are different levels of ew. There's ew.
And there's ew. I'm fucking scared.
And I think Dennis Patrick plays this sleaze perfectly. He is the perfect.
He
was probably a very nice guy in real life. You can't doubt that. He's an actor playing his job, and he played it so well with the eyes and the eyebrows and the creepy grin.
And he has grinning. Yeah, he has mouth expressions. They're like, what's the
like he was licking his chops, Simpsons? Like he wanted a piece of her, you know?
Yeah, what's the old man on The Simpsons? Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns.
God.
That's what he reminds me
of. Burns.
Sorry. Okay.
Except he's not 900 years old, but he's close.
Sue Ellen's in her appointment with Dr. Elby.
She asked for another glass of water, and
she's so thirsty.
And he gives her.
And then she got it herself.
But
she's fucking dehydrated. That drunk.
She uses a new glass. Why doesn't she use the same glass if she just had a glass of water?
Because she's rich.
She doesn't remember.
Because she's rich.
If you frequented bottle shops, she would understand.
I said because she's rich. We don't use the same glass, Josh. Are you kidding?
I'd hate to be cleaning the glasses in his office after her meetings.
And then she admits that she's drinking because the drinking makes the pain go away for a little bit of time.
And did you see how escalated her emotions got when he called Dusty a crush?
Crush.
I was in love with him. I don't think she's ever said that about JR. Or maybe later about one other.
I loved him.
I think she says it about one other person later. And
then,
but it was authentic. Like, it was very sincere, and she looked like she was in like deep despair. And if you had not seen this episode prior to this, you would know that deep despair was going to lead to a scene coming up where she used that despair and used something else as her crutch. I promise you, that is what an alcoholic does. Like 100%. Like, that despair that she had, you knew somewhere in the next 30 minutes you're going to see her at a bar. I mean, it was sad. It made me sad.
She said she is in pain and she needs that pain to not be happening. And she's going to do anything to get rid of it.
Ellie hit a nerve. He hit a nerve.
That's what I hit a nerve. That's what I meant to say. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. He hit a nerve and she was like, I'm not prepared for this.
She wasn't.
And then she said that
and then
she was a lush.
Right, she admit, because he's like, well, you just don't know the real Sue. Like, he's trying to be like, you are strong. You need to rely on yourself and not anyone else, another man. And then she's just like, I know the real Sue Ellen, and the real Sue Ellen's a lush, just like JR said. You're like,
I wonder if she's ever going to get her act together in her lifetime.
It's like, Sue Ellen, just like Pam, JR is never right.
No, listen to JR. Why is everybody listening to JR?
But
listen to JR.
It also is, though, even though she is kind of a lush, it is a form of brainwashing. If somebody tells you something so much and so often, you believe it. And that's where women's or men's self-confidence goes down. Right.
Even when
I mean, I'm very confident, but over the years in other past things, I've lost a lot of confidence because you hear something so much, you believe it. And it's sad.
And it's always easier to believe the
JR even did this to Ray earlier in the season at that fundraiser for Dave Culver with the Donna relationship.
JR knows how to play. He gaslit everybody. That's what you do.
That's what it does.
Like,
which you haven't.
And
that's how you gain control and you gain power over people.
Exactly. You take control of the situation.
You demean their confidence level. You knock their confidence level down, and then you can control them.
Yep.
But that's the thing. He'd beat her down, and then he'd do something nice and something loving for just a little bit, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, he really loves me." Blah, blah, blah. Like,
that's how that works.
That is
it's so toxic.
Definition of an abusive relationship.
And then he'd go right back to.
It's the cat and mouse thing. It's like the cat playing with the mouse, and then letting it go for a little bit, and then coming back at it. And
that's what my mom says about me. She goes, I love you to death. She goes, but you're just like your daddy. She's like, everything is going great and perfect. She's like, you just want to rock the boat. You want to make something. And I'm like, I don't do it on purpose. I don't like drama, but I just don't like a sedentary life. I want something going on all the time. And that is a flaw of mine. I know that. The therapist told me that.
Girl.
But it's true. I don't, if everything is going good, I automatically think something is wrong. This is too good.
We gotta have a non-podcast conversation about this one.
So even Scott, he's like crazy. I was like, I know that I'm crazy. It's okay.
You're not crazy. This is very real and in so many more families than you'd think it was.
I get it from my family for sure.
So we go back to the condo and Vaughn's leaving. He's going to round up some people for what we still don't know exactly. And he leaves.
Right. And Kristin does not like
I don't
Vaughn.
like Vaughn.
And she lets him know.
Nobody who likes Vaughn, but he's
crazy.
And then she was worried. She was like, you left him here with me. Like, if you hadn't come, he may have attacked me. Like, I didn't feel safe with him.
Yeah.
And JR says, I don't know, maybe you would have liked it. Fuck you, JR. This is my biggest fuck you.
And the one word that sends Kristin over the edge is when JR says, you're attractive and you're available. Let them know you're available.
First of all, you're saying that like she's a worker. Second of all, you're saying it like you didn't just promise you were going to marry her and make her the ex-Miss Ewing.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things wrong with this scene.
There's so many things wrong with it.
But
and the whole idea, even the whole idea that Kristin has in her head that she is going to become Mrs. J.R. Ewing is laughable because how is his family?
But he made her think
right.
that.
He knows it's laughable, but he's using her, and
right. He's using her, and she'll believe it because she wants to believe
She's
it.
taking the bait.
He knows.
Right.
He knows that
he can.
He could never bring her in there as Mrs. Ewing, and the reaction from his family.
No, of course, never.
Please.
Never,
and why
ever,
doesn't she know that? Because my first thought would be like, his parents are going to hate me.
Because she's 19 years old.
She's wearing blinders.
Yeah, she is. And she loves him. She's in love. She's been in love with him. And she wants to believe what he tells her. And he's been telling her the same thing.
But even a 19-year-old, why would you think you could go into a family residence and you know you're going to live there and think his parents are going to accept you because you were fucking your sister's husband?
He's gaslighting her too in many ways.
Oh, yeah.
She's totally gaslighting her, and she wants to believe it, and it's what she wants, and so she's just like, she doesn't have the experience to like life experience to tell her like this ain't gonna happen, and even though like she should know better, she's just lying to herself, and he's lying to her too. So,
but I honestly think though, Mary, 19 in 1980. Was probably equivalent to like a 27-year-old in 2000.
Do you think?
Yeah, because in that day and age, they were groomed like her mom did to be a Southern wife. Well, I'm Southern, so you're groomed to be a Southern wife, get married, please your husband, take care of your husband, be a homemaker, and have babies. That's what you're groomed to be. Now, I'm a little bit later generation, so I was groomed that way, but also that I could have a job and be. But I got married at 21. I mean, I was young. Oof. Now, granted, I was married for 18 years, but it didn't work out. I mean, it's not going to work out. Nobody that gets married before, I told my daughter 26, just to be on the safe side. I mean, that way you know what I mean? Right. And that might not be right. You might fall in love. She's been in love for 2 years and she's almost 21.
Right.
But anyway, that's the way they were groomed. So I think her equivalency is to what a 25 or 26-year-old would be now. Like, you're still kind of
but
naive.
I just don't think she's had that much experience. Like, think about like the like boyfriend she's had before. She would have been in high school,
but they probably all pawned over her. She's beautiful. She's probably a cheerleader, whatever.
Yeah,
right. And she was.
And what was the extent of her relationship with Rudy Millington before? We don't know what happened before.
Right. I just feel like JR's.
He was a good, well-to-do guy with good family ties, good parents, and his mom liked her. So she was supposed to go with him.
I think that the difference is I think she actually loves JR.
I think she does too, but she's delusional.
And so I think that she's being delusional. She's being completely delusional.
I don't think she liked Rudy's beamskin rug.
I mean, I don't blame her.
So he leaves. She throws the pillow at the cushion at the door.
I would have thrown more than that.
Yeah. And then she calls Alan Beam and decides to throw in with him. So that pushes.
Which,
yep.
I mean, that just is disastrous.
It's a bad decision, but what's she gonna do? Yeah. I mean, she's just at the end of her rope.
Two of JR's flunkies trying to get together to bring him down.
She should have called Lucy. Her and Lucy should have gotten together because I think they could have had a good plan. Because he's never going to believe anything Alan Beam tells him. So then it cuts to JR at the cartel at Ewing Oil.
Nope.
No.
I think it cuts to Pam and because Pam's asking Ellie and Rebecca.
Yes, I missed the part.
She's asking Ellie about Rebecca. Like, what do you remember my mom or anything? And Ellie's like, I met her once. I didn't know very much about her.
Lucy's sitting there studying, but then she gets a call from didn't say who and leaves the room.
Yeah. And then that's when then Bobby comes in, and then Ellie invites both Bobby and Pam to come with her and Jock to Colorado to visit Amanda. And Pam had been on her way to Corpus Christi to find her mom's grave, but Bobby's like, "Well, you can do that after. It shouldn't be a big deal. Like, you should just come with us. We
can swim and play tennis, as Mama says."
Yeah, we can hang out in Colorado. So she's like, all right. So
Rocky Mountain High, baby.
Yeah. And then that Raul and Teresa in the next scene loading all those suitcases.
Yeah, they're leaving for Colorado.
There's like a million suitcases.
They're like, fuck yeah, they're leaving. We can have sex in the pool house. We got the whole house for ourselves for a weekend.
And Jock says something to JR about, making sure Ewing Oil's in one piece while he's gone. And JR says, you're not going to South America.
True. Oh. I didn't even think about
you're
that.
not going to South
Wait, say it again. What now?
Spoiler. That's a spoiler. South America.
Yeah, because Jock wants to make sure that JR doesn't destroy Ewing Oil while he's gone or something to that extent. And JR says, "Oh, relax. You're not going to South America or anything like that." Then he gets a phone. Lucy tells JR he has a phone call. There are a lot of phone calls in this episode.
There are.
Yeah, before the days of cell phones. Right. And he'll take the call in the den. So Hank says that the bribe was a no-go. And there's about what?
And he also said that basically shit is about to hit
48 hours was basically all you got.
Yeah.
So he calls Vaughn and says, Vaughn goes, oh, everyone is eager. And he wants him in the office in about an hour or so. And who's listening at the door to the den? Hoo-hoo.
Our girl Sue. And then she calls out the name of the episode and says he's wheeling and dealing.
You can't even wait for them to be out of the gates before you're wheeling and dealing again, JR. And we don't know how sober or not sober she is in that scene.
Oh, I don't think she's really sober. I don't think she's been really sober since
for 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
She just has that glaze going on.
Just that little glassy eye thing going. Yeah. So then JR calls is it the cartel?
The cartel and some extra people off to the side that we didn't.
And some extra people.
Probably contest winners that were put in the episodes for
maybe.
He says
to let them in on the Asian deal. Go ahead.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say. The Asian deal, 75% Asian holding for $10 million per point.
And Ewing Oil wants 25% royalties of every barrel pulled out of Asia, which,
Yeah, what he explained.
It seems excessive.
But the cartel, they're like, what's going on here? JR said, well, really, we've got some deals that we can't talk about, and we need to insider trading that we can't go on about, and we just need to free up some capital.
And he honestly, this is brilliant because he has to make it believable for them to trust him, to be like, okay, I'm doing this because I need money, but also I'm going to take way more of if this works out, then I should. So he's being a little selfish, and also that's funny. What was my
He's keeping 25% of the deal for himself, so it doesn't look like
right. So it doesn't look bad, but then also it makes it believable in case this all does the bad stuff happen, so that they just buy it and go away and give him the money.
So they'll be like, oh God, you took 25%, so you're losing money too. So everyone's so he's basically setting up a fish on a platter and trying to serve it to them. A stinkfish, basically, but trying to gloss it over.
Right. And then you see Vaughn just sipping bourbon in the back of the room like a creeper. What? I hated just looking at his face in that scene.
Oh, Dennis Patrick. We should drink every time he has that oily grin.
Oily. I don't like it.
So, and then Kristin is at the condo with Alan, and she's dressed in a white top and a ribbon in her hair, trying to look like some innocent. Yeah. And Alan's got the chain going again across the suit.
That's awful.
And they're trying to come up with a plan. They're like, okay, we're gonna get JR. What do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know.
I have copies of documents from Cliff's campaign that I wrote double copies, so I can pull that up, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
And then the light dawns on Kristin's marble head.
It's like, I'll just go along with what he wants me to do, because probably people, if I hang out with his friends, they'll give me dirt on him, and that'll be enough to sink him.
So she calls the office, and Connie, who's looking at some book or something, she answers, and then Connie, she says, you cut back to Kristin and goes, Connie, it's Kristin. Shepherd.
I know, I love that. I was like,
I just
because Connie's just
I just want
shit.
I wanted to hear Connie's lines on the other end of the phone.
I know. Oh, I love Connie.
But Kristin will go to dinner with Jordan Lee, who's been kind of trying to get with her for a few months, and
kind of gross.
Jordan Lee.
Jordan's family is out of town. What's
really
his wife and new baby?
Really? And the wife and baby. What did they go to? What did you do to make her go home and visit mother? I mean, isn't that in 60s sitcoms when a wife got angry, she went home to mother?
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
Not me. I love my mom, but
60s sitcoms, girl.
So, and then when she tells JR that she'll go along with it, and he goes at the end, he's like, "Wow, that's better."
Right. Okay. It doesn't take him much to convince him. And Jock is up late at night and he's staring out a window
at a full moon in the mountains of Colorado.
Mm-hmm. And that looks like a cozy room. I want to be
fire
there.
going and the Ellie is
have a moment. They have a moment.
They have a moment.
They are having a moment.
The mountains are beautiful, and so is she. Oh.
This is a little precursor to a love scene we were not privy to.
I'm okay with that.
No geriatric sex. No, thank you.
She's only in her 50s. She's like 10 years older than me.
Wait, who?
No, it's so weird. It's so weird to think about, isn't it?
I know. I don't want
This is a late 50s in the early 1980s, which is like
I know, but still like
it's like that famous. It's like people have posted a picture going in the 30 years ago. 76 looked like Jane Wyman and Betty Davis. Now something in the 70s looks like Linda Gray and Donna Mills. And it's just
she's in her 80s.
No, this was a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
it's just
they're more
the age. They looked older back then. And
I know
people did look older back then. Why is that?
Yeah, but that's also
totally
because
did.
Linda Gray and all them, they were in their prime in the 80s, so they kept that 80s glam going.
And also, we have all the products now. We have the hair dye.
Yeah, I need it obviously
we
right
have
here.
the
That's my
creams, and we have the Botox.
Well, I'm not allowed to get
then you can look like Teresa Hines Carey.
I've had it once and I loved it.
Well,
and Scott's like, don't do that. Like, he's like, in the long run, I was like,
well, I thought y'all look about 10 years younger than you are. And people think believe it or not, I don't see it. People think I'm like 25 or 26.
I usually, when I'm out, and I'm not trying to be funny, but usually if I'm actually
like you're my age,
dressed up, my hair is straight, I have makeup on, I usually get 33 or 35, usually, which is fine because I'm 42. I'm fine with that.
I look younger than my siblings. I look younger than the Ohio relatives.
But when I hit about 32, 33 is when I started looking older. I got carded until I was 34. Not anymore.
So,
I have a little bit of eyeshadow on.
Jock is nervous about seeing Amanda, and he still wants Ellie to be with him.
Yeah, he's nervous. Because he obviously hasn't seen her in a while. I bet it's good bringing up also some feelings and memories that he's just feeling.
At least they went
nostalgic and weird about.
And meanwhile, Sue Ellen is not showing up for Dr. Elby. It's because she's holding her appointment in a bar with Dr. Jack Daniels and whoever else will listen.
At Ace Bar in Braddock.
That's right.
Ace Bar.
We're happy with the big happy hour sign out front.
Yeah,
well, it was a happy hour
for such a society wife. She goes slumming. She's
like, I understand they call it a happy hour, but it's a happy hour 5 to 7. That's not 1 hour.
That's true.
I've never understood that.
No,
and that's how people get wasted. Because my martinis, instead of being 14, they're 7. So instead of having 2, I have 4, and that's how people end up like Sue.
That's how they get shit faced.
And then they also cut the prices on the hors d'oeuvres to get you in there too.
Happy hour
appetizers. Yeah, we do it too, but that doesn't work. I still get drunk.
So the deals are signed, and looks like Von Leland is getting in on the deal.
Okay, and then is this where JR finds out Von Leland's going to go ahead and be involved?
Yeah, and he said after all he's done, JR can't think of anyone he'd rather have in the deal with him.
And then he had the big shit-eating grin on his face because he knew, like, fuck you, Von
Fuck
Leland.
you, Von Leland.
There you go.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool, but fuck you, I'm out.
You're cool, but fuck you.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Kiss my ass, kiss his ass, kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You see that movie Half Baked?
Yes. God, that's so old. How do
fuck you, you're cool. Fuck you, I'm out.
So now we're back in Colorado at the
at the
sanitarium, which is kind of,
and this makes me sad.
Kind of great, almost Great Gatsby like with the whole setup.
It is.
It is a bit. Yeah, it is a nice place. Like Jack spared no expense.
No,
he said that. He's like, she's had the best of care.
And Amanda doesn't recognize him, which triggers something like, how long has it been since
the Queens?
Like, yeah, maybe she had a nervous breakdown, but it's turned into early onset Alzheimer's.
It's been
like
it's been so long that she actually thinks Bobby is Jock.
Yeah, I bet she has Alzheimer's. I bet she had early onset Alzheimer's.
I think so too, because Jock seemed like, but then Bobby was like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like he just played along with it, which was what you should do.
He did, but he looks so like I said, like Bobby's thinking, and then Jock is like, everybody's just like, "This is super awkward.
What the fuck's going on?"
And Ellie's probably looking like.
She goes,
she got that nice dress for Jock, and
yes, and he goes, "It's gorgeous."
She asks if you're gonna go away with him, pointing to Jock, the real Jock, because he's a wildcatter, that guy, and
right.
I love that word.
And it just made me realize like how much Amanda really loved Jock, and like she was just worried about him going out wildcatting. And I love Amanda. I'm just like I love her in the Dallas Early Years movie too, I love her here. And every time I hear the song Amanda by the band Boston, I've always thought of Amanda from Dallas.
Okay, but
this actress is Leslie Woods, by the way. Leslie Woods.
Who?
Leslie Woods.
And every time I hear the song Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young, I call it the Farlow song.
Oh, totally.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So
Jordan Lee goes to Kristin.
Again.
No, I want to put one more point in about Amanda. She apologizes for being a burden, which I really wanted to get in there.
I know. It makes me sad for her.
I know. That's.
She's like,
I love her.
Ellie comforts Jock after Amanda is taken back away.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kristen's entertaining Jordan Lee, who wants to move to the couch.
Yeah. Right, because he's being gross. And then she's like, okay, so tell me about JR then. I'm gonna be trying to be sexy with you. And then he's just like, no, JR is awesome. JR is my favorite person in the world right now. And she's like,
she's not getting anywhere with him.
So now she realizes she's gonna feel like she has to sleep with him. But she doesn't, but I feel like she's going to.
But we don't know because the scene ended.
How do you do that?
Me too, but I just get that feeling. I don't know. Anyway.
The little thing in the corner.
I'm gonna leave that nugget there because of something that happens way down the road.
Mm-hmm. It's true. That's why we're leaving it.
And we're going to leave that, and we are going to circle back.
Yes.
Circle the wagon.
We're going to circle back in about a season. Okay, so then Cliff has been calling for Pam.
More phone calls.
Yeah, Sue Ellen.
At least Hank showed up in person.
I said, drunk Sue Ellen saying JR looks nervous. And then, because it looks like Sue Ellen's a little.
You're up to something real nasty.
Yeah. And the family's back from Colorado.
She pokes at JR and she taunts him. That's what I put. Ha 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 ha.
Then the family returns. Mm-hmm. Cliff wants to see Pam.
And then. And she's just like, oh, maybe it's about my mom because guess what? Like, maybe my mom's not dead. And Bobby's like, what?
Okay.
What's
okay,
this
Pam,
now?
you're really reaching now.
He looks really concerned about her. And she's just like, yeah, maybe that's what he wants to talk to me about. And he's just like, okay. So then there's this quick scene with JR and Jock. And then Pam goes to Cliff's.
Right. JR takes a call for Lucy. I mean, what all these phone calls again? No, Lucy's not here, blah, blah, blah. And then JR says, I'll see you at the office, Daddy.
And then Pam goes to Cliff's. And then so Cliff's whole big news, because she's like, did you find Mama? And he's like, what? No, I found this piece of paper that I proved was like signed by both Jock and Digger, saying that like Jock and Digger and all of their kids get all the rights to Ewing Oil 23.
Heirs in
like all the
perpetuity.
profits. So like,
and Pam is like,
we get money.
Pam's like, I don't give a
Pam's
fuck.
like, what? I don't. Right. I don't
And it
care
was
about
dated.
that.
It was dated February 26th, 1939, which was basically last week was the anniversary.
So I just noticed a weird thing here that I didn't notice when I was watching it. So Sue Ellen earlier went into that bar, and then Sue Ellen is back. Is it like just cutting to a completely different time? Like, because
maybe I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that while it was happening, but then she's back like when because Cliff had been calling for Pam, and the family's back from Colorado. She's back at South Fork, and then the next scene, she's back at the bar.
Oh,
So
you know what? I
guess-
didn't even catch that.
I didn't catch that when I was watching it. Maybe it's just she's been going there, like
It's
whatever.
just to
Is that what we're supposed
establish
to
that
think?
she's picked up a drinking pattern.
But
Okay,
does she
well,
have
she's
the same
been
outfit
okay.
on?
She said she was leaving for her.
I don't know. I'm gonna
She
rewatch
said
it.
she was leaving for her appointment with Dr. Elby, and she quickly said hi to
That's
the
what
family and then left. But she never went to Dr. Elby's office.
I put down that she lied because she didn't go to Dr. Elby. She went to a friggin' bar.
For the second day in a row.
Right.
And like Sarah,
For the second day in a row.
Sarah, I was working and watching it at the same time. So I just assumed that she had lied and gone to the bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Love her for
No, right.
Maybe I
But
missed it.
I thought her going to the bar was only once. Like I was just
I
thinking
did
that was
too.
just the one time she went
No,
to the
I
bar.
did too,
But
until
now
just
that I'm
now.
looking at my notes, that's not the case.
Huh.
Because it has to be a completely different day that she's doing that, or they fucked up in editing.
Ooh.
I think the
okay.
day before was just to establish this pattern that she is skipping appointments.
That she's been going just to the bar
Right.
every day.
Yeah.
It might
Like
be.
I may be going to therapy, but then I'm going to go get my drink on too. So
Right. So yeah. So we're gonna cut to Sue Ellen crunk at the bar. And there's a weird VO at the beginning, like on the outside, that they must have just recorded to establish the situation.
Yeah.
That where she's just the guy's like, are you sure you've had enough to drink, Mrs. Ewing? And she's like, have fun.
Yeah.
and I put she's drunk as shit
And
and,
it
about
might
to
be-
pick
it
up
might
some
even be a-
rando.
Stumbling
It might even be
everywhere.
a different bar too, if we look at the exteriors.
No, it's the same bar. It's Aces. It's the same bar.
Yeah.
It's the same bar.
My exact notes were Sue Ellen in a bar, really drunk. She
Drunk
thinks the guy's
as
dusty.
fuck.
Love her fur coat. It's pitiful. That's what I put.
I
Justice.
said that
Yeah,
Oh,
it's really
Justin.
sad.
It is
Justice.
pitiful.
And then
she's drunk as shit
she thinks
and picking up some rando that she thinks is dusty.
But that
like,
dickhead
she's
plays
that
along
drunk.
with
He's
it.
like, yeah, I'm dusty. Yeah.
Yeah, what a
Dusty,
dick.
you can
I'm
come
Dusty and
whenever you
I'm
want.
back, and you're going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And
What do you want?
We're
What's your
going
name? What
after
do you
your
want it to
dusty
be?
muffin.
Ew.
Ew.
But you know what? He thinks he's about to go get laid in his pickup truck in the parking lot is what he thinks.
Right.
So he's going to play
Exactly.
along with it. It was
Oh,
just fucking
God.
pitiful.
Oh God, truck sex. Oh God.
We haven't thought of that since Ray and
Uh-huh.
Lucy.
Right.
God.
And then I bet this guy orders a bourbon and branch too. Is it that popular of a drink? And Sue Ellen stops for a minute when he orders that.
Yeah.
And he was like, and he's like, what? Show her something else. And she's like, no, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
So we.
And I don't know
But-
if it was that she's a vodka drinker or if it's that's what JR likes.
And
He
JR
was like-
drinks that. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Right. And then they start making out and they cut.
that made it
And
been
like I said,
Then we cut to Bobby and Ray doing some probably feed bills or something like that, and we learned.
I put thank God they answered the phone.
Yeah, we learned that Ray has the plumbing and the electrical done, and then he's gonna.
house is almost
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it's the guy from Ace Bar calling.
But
Bob.
again, the bartender called. So number 2 is what I said earlier. Why the fuck would you go to a bar in Braddock County that you are a Ewing? She didn't give 2 fucks if anybody saw her.
But
Like, if
No,
you're
she
having an
doesn't give
affair,
any
you
fucks
go
right now.
somewhere, outside the city, a couple cities over.
being a Ewing, she's not going to go very many places where she's not recognized either. So at
No,
that
but
point,
fuck, sure
does
as
she
fuck
even
don't
give
go
a fuck?
Braddock.
She's like, whatever.
I don't think she cares. I think she doesn't care about anything right
Yeah.
now since Dusty
Yeah,
has died.
no,
She's
no.
just like, nothing
She's
matters.
so
It doesn't-
inebriated she doesn't
whatever.
know up from down and left from right.
Matters.
And I love when
She wants to just not hurt.
I love when
now.
Bobby hangs up the phone and says to Ray, "We got trouble. Let's go." He doesn't say what.
Yeah, he just rush out.
He's just like,
Ray
yeah,
doesn't
let's
even
go.
ask a follow-up question.
Yeah,
Shot of Barbie's car driving down the road.
The one scene that is not from a set, and I'm sure it's from an earlier episode.
Yeah.
Right.
B-roll of an outdoor.
They want to cut to the Cowboys that want to take Sue Ellen to a party. Bobby and Ray arrive.
And I put this.
We're gonna go to a party.
I put this could have been so bad because we were talking about JR raping Kristin. She was about to get Sue Ellen was about to get carried out of this bar by 3 or 4 guys.
At least.
I know.
It could have been really, really bad. She was
So
like, "We're gonna go
bad.
to a party." It's like, honey, you are the party.
Right.
Oh, I know.
And it was like, but then here come Bobby and Ray to the rescue.
Here comes Bobby.
There's a party in the car and we're coming. Okay.
He's like, I'm taking her home.
Like, I'm taking her
This
home.
bar
Fight. Drink.
ridiculous.
Bobby.
Yeah,
Bobby's.
it's Bobby.
The music on the bar fight. There's
Bobby
like
punches
punches.
somebody.
It's the token bar fight music.
And Sue Ellen tries to attack Bobby because she thinks he's hurting Dusty.
She's like, leave him alone.
Dusty. Then they finally
So sad.
We've all had to carry one drunk bitch out of a bar in one point in our life.
Yeah, but I'm
So
usually
true.
the one that's doing.
I know. I'm usually the one. I'm usually the one drunk
Usually,
bitch
like,
that's getting
upstairs
carried out.
done. Let's go. Get in the car.
It's like, all right, get out. Go lay down. Basically, go lay down in the car. Sleep it off.
I put the seat back. But you know what I did learn though is if you go get in the car and you put the keys in the ignition to crank it, so, like in the summer when you need to have the air on. If the cop comes up,
That can be a DWI. Don't do it.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that. And so one night at Scott's bar, he was working and I got his keys and I just went and go lay down in the car, but it was hot. It was like July in Alabama.
God.
So I had to turn the air on. He comes out and he's like, you can stay in the car or you can come inside because you don't have the keys. I was like, why? I'm not going to go home. He's like, no. He's like, you can get a DUI. I was like, what?
That's like in Las Vegas when a friend of mine and I went into the general store and he bought alcohol. Security guard said, make sure your friend doesn't open that until you get to the sidewalk because if you open it in this parking lot, it's $1,000 fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Liquor laws are weird.
So
FYI, guys.
Jock and Ellie are playing
You're gonna go
backgammon.
sleep it off in the car.
Drink.
Okay, up, drink.
FYI, y'all, if you're gonna go drink and go sleep it off in the car, you can't have the keys in the ignition. Sorry about it. You
That's
can't.
our lesson.
Okay,
that's our, what is it, PSA for tonight?
That's our PSA for
That's our
tonight.
And now the cars they have those fobs and you don't even have to put them in the ignition. You just push a button.
That's true.
Well, that's it.
Right.
But if the engine is running,
But if it's on, you're in trouble.
So I'm wondering.
Jock wants
if
his
we can
drink
come up with a
reef.
solution where we can have it heated or air conditioned and not have the engine running as ignition. Whatever. Let's keep going.
Jock wants his drink refreshed. Miss Ellie doesn't.
Right. And I think this is the worst I've ever seen Sue Ellen, by the way, when they carried her in.
She's horrible.
I mean, she was like,
she was pretty bad when she was passed out pregnant, but this is pretty damn.
This is
worse.
The worst is that Pam, Jock, JR, and Ellie and Bobby, Pam, Jock, Ellie, and JR all saw her when Bobby carried her in.
Yeah.
He didn't mean for it.
And she was bad. She's like flailing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, y'all could have brought her up the back stairs, right? Aren't there back stairs in the mansion?
Probably.
You would think so.
But
Probably.
this is probably the worst, like drunkish I've seen her. But then
Oh, spoiler! Spoiler!
Yep.
JR says he's going to have to do something about this real soon because you can't keep doing this to herself. Or
you can't take much more.
Yeah, gonna have to do something about this real soon.
Right. Which? Yeah.
He's secretly gloating.
The next
piece of crap.
We see the entrance to the den where JR goes into the left under the staircase.
In his jammies.
Yeah, and we had
he flicks on the TV.
Bathrobe. We had Jock in a bathrobe earlier, a nice silk one in Colorado. We have JR here, so we had leather jackets and bathrobes. And I want to know more about
lots of fur coats in this episode.
I want to know more about the story on the news that there was a fire that was knocked down at 5 a.m. Injuries to four.
That's the thing is, I've never seen him come down and turn on his TV with a remote control and walk outside. He turned it on, didn't even watch it.
Injuries to 4 firefighters. There was $350,000 damage and a burglar fleeing from the scene of the crime. I want to know more about that.
I think that he was looking to see if there was any news about Asia.
Right.
Yeah, but he stayed for like 1 second. I think it was like a free thing so that Jock could see the news when he walks back in. But you don't know that when you're watching it, and I'm like, in Dallas.
But instead, we get the news about Asia, and then Jock hears it, and he looks so
JR goes out to the pool, and Bobby says he's going up to a little more side story. He's going up to Two Stick to check on some fence. JR asks if there was rustlers, just to fill the conversation.
It seemed pretty lame. Yeah. Throwaway scene.
And Sue Ellen is sleeping it off. He tells her and blah, blah, tells him blah, blah, blah. And then
the dog is very confused.
And then Jock hears the news and he looks really scary.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they were set to lose billions of dollars according to the news.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Billions.
Can I do the Jock voice here?
Oh my God, please do.
How much did we lose?
That's what exactly I put it in mean voice in capital letters and this, and he had the scariest, meanest, like grandpa voice in the whole world.
Well, because the guy on the news was just
Christmas presents this year from Grandpa.
The guy on the news was just like, the Ewing family just lost billions of dollars. I mean, $100 billion. I mean, and Jock's like, what the hell? How much did we lose? And JR's like, don't worry about it. Because you know what? It's insider trading. He sold all that shit off, didn't he?
The way I stand to
he says, the way I look, you do it.
We're going to make a killing.
And I said, in more ways than one.
And Jock looks confused, and JR ends the episode on one of his shit-eating grins.
Because he knows.
I put shit-eating grin ends it. But then I said also a very weird look on Jock's face, and when it ends, he's going, it's a weird look.
I thought I saw the veins in Jock's head ready to pop like Carter McKay later in the season.
I think so too.
All right, so I gave this one 4.4 bourbons in hitting on your ex-husband's son.
Ooh, okay.
I gave this a 4.5 and Sue Ellen's fur coat because I like it. It's like that weird whitish black, and loving the fur coat. And her makeup in one of the scenes too, but the fur coat.
Where did I go? Oh, I gave it a 1. No, I'm just kidding. I gave it a 4.75 and 25% of all royalties off of oil coming out of Asia.
Good one.
Melanie?
4.75 as well. And fuck. I put my notes away. I can't remember.
Sue Ellen thinking it's Dusty in the bar.
Yeah.
A drunk Sue Ellen, an ace
a bar fight.
A party. We're going to a party. 4.75 in a party.
There's a party with Sue Ellen in the van, and they're all coming.
Opie likes that.
I feel like Sue Ellen didn't know what a fucking party was. I think we need to show her what a party is.
As
I think so.
A party with a lot of pants around the ankles.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this week on the Ewing Barbecue. Next week is the season finale, and
it's gonna be a huge episode.
Huge, epic,
big
season finale. Please join us. We're gonna probably do something fun for it. Hopefully, we don't have a plan right now, but we're going to please look out for more information about that on our Facebook
I'm very
group.
curious to see what the writers have come up with given 2 extra episodes.
Yeah, right. You'll find out next week. All right. See you then. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
I got nothing this week, you guys. I'm sorry.
Wah, wah.
I got lazy. I didn't make the post. Next week, I need one-liners, you guys.
You're gonna have a great one for next week.
Send me one-liners for every episode ending, please.
All right.
You could have done Jock's line tonight of how much did we lose?
Next on Dallas.
It was crooked, and I believe you knew that. You'll regret this.
Is that a threat, Vaughn?
A promise. I've put up with all the wheeling and dealing and backstabbing that I'm going to. We leave in the morning. You're a drunk and unfit mother. The sooner we have you put away in that sanitarium, the better off you're going to be.
He's got to be stopped. I can't rely on anyone else to do what I have to do.